What is a y-intercept? Now, we're going to talk about this in a couple of different ways, but the big thing about a y-intercept is if we are thinking about the coordinate plane, we know that the horizontal line is the x-axis, and the vertical line is the y-axis. The word intercept, think about an interception in football. It's where two things come and they meet, right? So an interception is where the defensive player catches the ball in front of the offensive player, the meeting space. So if we want the y-intercept, we want to know where does something, in this case a line generally, where does it cross the y-axis? So the y-intercept is a point. So we're talking about a point on the coordinate plane. And remember that points come in the form of x, y. That's the order, where x tells you the location on the x-axis and y tells you the location on the y-axis. So now as we're thinking through this piece, any point on the y-axis, so let's just get a few lines here, intervals. If we say the point here, this is a y-intercept because it's on the y-axis. The point of that is 0, 2, because I did not move left or right at all for the x value, I only moved up 2. If I would say this point down here, I count 1, 2, 3, 4 lines below the x-axis, so this would be 0, -4. So one thing to note, every point on the y-axis has an x value of 0. So when you are thinking through, if x is 0, the y value, we know we have the y-intercept because x being 0 means we did not move right or left at all. So sometimes we call this the starting point because if you have a y-intercept, that makes things a little easier to graph. Or if we're talking about an application problem, what value are we starting with? That could be our y-intercept. So we're just going to look at two graphs. So we have a nice line here, and we want to know what is the y-intercept. Well, again, remember the y-axis is the vertical axis. So where does this line cross the y-axis? Well, it crosses right here at a y value of 2. So the point is 0, 2, and this is the y-intercept. And if we think about this line here, we have a negative slope. We see that it crosses the y-axis 1 interval below the x-axis. So we would have a y-intercept of 0, -1. Now in terms, just one extra piece here, we often talk about slope-intercept form being y equals mx plus b, where b is noted as the y-intercept. Now, the reason this is true is because what do we know about a y-intercept? The x value is always 0. So the ordered pair would be 0, b. So whatever this value is, that would be the y value. And it works because if I would plug 0 in for x in this equation, so y equals m, which is our slope, times 0 plus b. What is 0 times anything? It doesn't even matter what the value of m is. What is 0 times anything? Just 0. So that would give me 0 plus b, which is just b. So that's how we can tell, like, the y value is just b. That's the idea. So the y-intercept is where our graph crosses the y-axis on a coordinate plane. And in the slope-intercept form of an equation, the y-intercept has a y value of b.